leave it at that for the moment. Good evening and welcome. It's another Sunday night, but this time, as far as I'm concerned, it's a little bit special. Let's see. I'm just catching up here. Just trying to finish up the Astro Doodle. So I'll leave it like that just for the moment, okay? I want to catch up here. There we are. Good evening. Tina, hi. Precious, wow. You've been here all these years. It's amazing. You're adding extra logs to the campfire. Absolutely. Reading about a bit of clarity about the relationship. Sure, I think most people here know that you got something going on with this gentleman up from Maine, and you're going to be trying to figure out how to make this work. Hello, Esther. Watching Bills versus Kansas City. Go Bills. Okay. The Buffalo Bills, right? Because you're a Buffalo lady. Right. Okay. So you're kind of in the snow belt way up there. Lake Erie and all the lake effect snow. And I think you had to postpone a game. I'm not a sports guy. I don't know anything about football, basketball, baseball, soccer, tennis. What did I miss? But I hope your game goes well and I hope you win. If you're a gambling woman, I hope you make a lot of money. So there. Anyway, thanks for showing up. I've got a little bit of iced tea here. It's a really good brew. For some reason, this came out quite well. Excuse me. So, I've been looking at the charts. I've been very self-contained all week long because really I've just been observing. I kept thinking I should make little videos every minute to catch up and keep up with all this crazy stuff happening across the world. And I thought, you know what? Everyone else is doing that on YouTube. All the big mainstream, all the alternative media, all the conspiracy channels, all the prepper channels, all the global news, all the alternative global news, my trusted sources, all of that. And really all I did was observe things. And everything that I watched, that I went through all these checklists that are things that are very important to me personally, that validate like who we are here, what we do, how we do it, and so on. And for myself, as you know, I always looked for correlations to what's happening with the planets. I had a conversation yesterday with Love Triber, and we were trying to figure out what's the problem, you know. And I said, well, you know what? If we've got a few minutes, let's take out some charts. And we'll figure it out. And lo and behold, we pulled out the charts. What we do is we pull out a birth chart, and then we correlate that with the transits of the day. And absolutely, you know, within a couple of degrees, you can see exactly where the trigger points are. Like, oh no, no wonder. Now, the thing is that when things are going well, people just take it for granted, and you would have things like your trines and your sextiles all lit up and aspected in such a way that everything's going smoothly. You don't really even notice it. Everything just kind of like, oh, yeah, life's, I'm fine. How are you doing? But where people take notice is when things suck. And they start looking for answers and reasons to life. Oh, should I take some more fentanyl? Should I go for a walk? Should I, have more cookies like I do? It's just a way to soothe ourselves and heal ourselves. Anyway, Tina pointed out something very important, because really I've just been observing up until this moment in time, because it's happening right now. Over the last 24, 36 hours, and for the next 24, 36 hours, we're going over the tipping point. We're actually, think of a teeter-totter. You're hanging out with your friend and everything's balanced out, and you're sort of going ha 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 ha, and you're sitting there. It's all balanced, and your legs and arms are wiggling, trying to keep it balanced, and then eventually it just kind of goes ugh, bonk. That's the tipping point. Officially, it started, I would say, today, or maybe yesterday. The sun went into Aquarius on Saturday. Pluto went into Aquarius on Saturday, just within a few hours. So tonight, we have both the sun and Pluto in Aquarius. Pluto is, of course, at the microscopic, like the 0.01 degree mark. The sun is probably already at 1 or 2 degrees. But anyway, it's a very major, important conjunction. Thank you, Tina. I'm glad you noticed that. I did drop a few hints last week and the week before, and probably for months in advance, probably years in advance, that we were going to reach this point. And as we get closer and closer to that tipping point, I was watching for indications that resonate and validate my opinions about how the astrology looks here on Earth. And the primary themes that I was focusing on, and that I am focusing on, is freedom. And of course, like everything in the universe, there is a equal and opposite, and the opposite is tyranny. The absence, the removal of freedom, and the imprisonment of the human soul, theft of our energy, theft of our life, complete domination, control by megalomaniacs, sociopaths, psychopaths, whose only sense of existence can be fulfilled through a perpetually unsustainable search for more and more power and money and control. It's lust. It's pure lust, and they can't help themselves. That's how they are. A lot of them seem very presentable. I call them they. I call them the swarm. There's a long list of who they are. It's usually 3-letter things like WEF, WHO, FED, US Treasury, US Fed, DOJ, DOD, DHS, ICE, all those things. UN, that's only 2. The WHO, I think I said that. IMF, World Bank, all these entities, and then add some more layers to the cake and you get BlackRock, Vanguard, State Street, and all the mega multi-trillion-dollar asset management firms that really own and control the actual physical 3D essence of our life that's measurable in terms of currencies, money, power and control, stock markets, exchange, and physical wealth. Banks, of course, as well. What's that, Tina? Oh, yeah. Yes, we're in the age of Aquarius. We are, yes. I know how to officially interview yourself out of a job. Okay. Well, that's an exceptional and rare skill, Tina. Maybe you should do a seminar. I will host it for you, or with you. So anyway, back to the planets. There's also, the planets are all whizzing around doing their thing, and they all have different themes and everything, but I've been watching Pluto closely, and the subject of freedom and tyranny are now face-to-face, head-to-head on the global headlines, the global mainstream headlines. Even the mainstream is inevitably and probably reluctantly having to report on these subjects that are very awkward because, what's that? I had to ask a holding point for admit that they had no food, just cheeses and Cheez-Its. Oh. And so, what did I notice? let me go to the stage. Of course, I'm going to get the map, and I'm probably going to enhance it with the new TL globe. What's happened is that, as predicted, as expected, the subject of freedom would explode all over the world as we, the people, the individuals, are very acutely aware that a lot of us are suffering from a, let's say, a dilution or diminishment of our sovereign selves. And that's very, very painful. Everyone has a sense of identity, no matter how fragile and feeble you may think you are, or no matter how big your ego may be. This Chiron in Aries affects all of us, on the global scale in such a way that there is a part of us that feels very deeply wounded, that something has been taken, stolen, no matter how hard we fought. We lost a battle in such a way that part of our souls, our identity, our sovereignty, our individuality, our nature, our culture, our identity has been stolen and diminished. And when you have that hideous, horrible, painful feeling, you want it back. And now it just happens that the Aries North Node is here, which is amplifying this need for we the people to get back to being our individual selves, our sovereign selves. We the people, not just me the person, but we the people, and start to reclaim. And it's a very painful process because there's 8 billion people, most of whom are compromised. And there's probably a handful of a couple million people, they, them, the swarm at the very top, who are, let's say, less compromised. In fact, they are living lives of grandeur, indescribable wealth. It's very, very hard to imagine it. I think Love Triber was trying to describe to me what it would look like if you could measure the so-called wealth of Elon Musk or Jeff Bezos or Bill Gates and compare it to your average person. You wouldn't. It's almost, you can't fit it on a chart. It's so extreme. Even if I drew a graph here and here, here's all the people of the world, poor, 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 middle class, pretty rich, pretty well-to-do, not too bad at all. And then you get the elites. It goes way up to the chart, way, way off there, way, way up there. And it's absurd, and it's happening because it could happen, and the elites figured out how to do it. And they just want more and more and more. There was a time when I was a young lad when the boss, the owner, the managers, the CEOs of companies, corporations would earn about a ratio of about 5, 6, 7, 8 times the money, or maybe 12 times the money of the actual worker on the factory floor, or the small industry or whatever it is. But today you're looking at thousands and thousands, multiples of thousands, and it's just theft. And they figured out the more money and power, that control they have, the more money and power and control they have to be able to figure out how to get more money and power and control. And it's working. It's worked very well for them, especially over the last 40 years. An astronomical transfer of wealth. Anyway, I digress. So over here, I can remember back in 2008, 2009, when Pluto was going over the cusp of Sagittarius to Capricorn, and all the tumultuous events in the world at that time, mostly to do with the great financial crisis in America that had shockwaves across the whole world. In other words, the decadence and the expansion, optimism, that the economy is going to grow forever using the same old tricks. It collapsed, it imploded. And then we had the great financial crisis, and reality checked in. Pluto in Capricorn was a very blunt instrument waking everybody up to the world that, I'm sorry, reality is a certain way, and this is what it looks like. Bam! Total destruction of the fraud. However, within a matter of 18 months of the cusp, Pluto in Capricorn, when it's fully in Capricorn, the United States Federal Reserve banking system, along with the United States Treasury and the Obama administration, the first things they did was bail out the banks. Then the banks were the criminals in the first place. But, they're all working at it together. So they did the bailout. And for the last 18 years, the bailout has continued. And the bailout took various forms, but ultimately it comes in terms of printing money. Print more money. Issue money. More debt, create more debt. Pump it through the banking system out into the streets, onto we the people, so that we the people can operate as debt cows and suck up and eat up all that debt and start repaying all that money and sweat equity back to the banksters. And it worked very well. But the problem is we've reached a plateau of reality that's inescapable now. They've actually reached a point where there's no real way to bail it out this time. So we're heading for an implosion. It's a global implosion because the rest of the world figured out we have to copy what America does with our banking and central bank systems. Otherwise, we go down. And so now the whole world is sucked into this massive debt trap. Wherever you look, it's China, it's America, it's Europe, it's Central America, it's South America, it's Africa, it's the Middle East, it's the Far East, it's Northern Europe, it's Australia, New Zealand. And they're all sucked deep into these debt traps. And what do you do? Nobody has the answer because the world has never been here before. The world has never had a singular moment where every single human population is going through the same debt trap and the same implosion simultaneously. But that's where we are now. So that's just the backdrop, because the real issue is that we the people have figured out that the tyranny imposed by the shadow expression of Pluto in Capricorn is in fact orchestrated through the global financial systems, the political systems, the banking systems, to enact this extremely subtle, very powerful form of theft. It's basically a psychological operation, because we the people are mostly unaware of it. We are conditioned for the last 40, 50, since 1971, basically, the United States, and then effectively, eventually, the rest of the world, was born and raised and conditioned into a world of perpetual debt, as though that's the only way to live. Sadly, there are other ways to live that are much healthier, but we've been conditioned to live in this debt. Every single person on earth, unless you're kind of one of the mega wealthy. But then anyway, the point is, I've been talking about it for years. Debt is like a trap. It's like a prison. And so, the classic ones, your credit card, your mortgage, your car payment, your college loan, your business loans, any debt of any major kind. It's a trap because you're trying to steal energy from the future. And when you do that, there's a severe penalty. There are ways to live where you don't have to steal energy from the future. You can actually operate within the energy of the present moment. But in effect, what I'm trying to say is that the tyranny, which is the form of imprisonment, mind control, tyrannical control of we the people, was mostly enacted through the financial system at the behest of the political system, at the behest of the global elites who own it all. In other words, the BlackRocks and the central banks, private banking owners. So the people are realizing, oh my God, this is not cool. I want my freedom. So it's war. It's very, very simple. Everywhere you go, almost everywhere. Where's the map? That's the point I was trying to get to, over here. So, what was that, Tina? Point for admit they had no food, just Cheez-Its. Ugh. You can't live off Cheez-Its. Standalone ER admits holding. And then 24 hours and no food. That's weird. Guess what? I was not chosen. Oh. That's kind of rude. All right, we'll talk about that later. So, over here, we have our own version of tyranny versus freedom. It's being acted out in the live political theater between Donald Trump and the deep state in Washington right now. In other words, Grandpa Joe and his administration. It's a war. It's a political war. And it's happening live, real time. And it's very simple. It's very, very polarizing. Okay? The same thing is happening in Canada. Their economy is really in trouble because they're heavily compromised by CCP and WEF. Same thing everywhere in Central and South America. Heavily, heavily infiltrated and compromised by CCP and WEF. Tyranny being imposed. Tyranny being imposed. Same thing over here, all throughout Africa. Tyranny being imposed by CCP, WEF, IMF, World Bank, all over here. Same thing all over Europe. WEF and the banking systems imposing tyranny on the Europeans. Effectively, what happens is it's the diminishment of your power, your sovereignty, your wealth, your individuality, your freedom. And in simplistic terms, it looks, the simplest obvious way to see it is that the price of gasoline, heating fuel, cooling energy for air conditioners has skyrocketed. Okay? That disempowers you. The cost of food skyrocketing. That disempowers you. In other words, you have to spend huge amounts of your life force, your life energy, just to stay warm or stay cold and to eat and have shelter. And there's no room for anything else. If there is anything else, people are burning it up on credit cards and creating even more trouble for themselves. A lot of places they can't do that, of course. So wherever you see, well, it's everywhere across Earth right now. Australia is in deep trouble, heavily compromised by CCP and WEF. Same thing, even New Zealand, if you can believe it. Even in India, a little bit. They're not that heavily compromised, but they're still in deep trouble. Russia is a little bit autonomous because they're very, very nationalistic here, and they don't give. Well, anyway. They're very nationalistic. So there's different variations that I've been seeing, but it all comes down to the same thing. Freedom versus tyranny. So for example, there's a very big deal happening right now in Germany where something called the AfD party it's kind of like what I call a common sense party, where they have figured out that what's happening in Germany is really stupid and it never had to happen, because Germany is operated by an extremely hardcore communist-type left-wing government, which has completely trashed the economy and the culture. And so there's basically rebellions going on and protests, millions of people protesting in Germany right now, saying we have to get rid of the AfD because they are extreme right-wing crackpots who are trying to stabilize the country and get rid of all the immigrants and stabilize our government and stabilize our finances. That has to stop. And of course the AfD is saying, you're the frickin' idiots who put us in this trouble in the first place. You are the ones who have to back off and stop. So it's the same story wherever you go. England, North America, okay, same thing. And the more detailed outbreaks are Javier Milei Giorgio Meloni, Javier Milei over in Argentina, he's basically given the middle finger to the WEF. Same thing from Giorgio Meloni, middle finger to the WEF and CCP. Same thing in America from Donald, middle finger to the WEF and the CCP. Because people are waking up. Finally, at this tipping point, people are waking up, and it is now mainstream news headlines where even on the fake news, it's still happening. We're starting to see descriptions of this, different descriptions of with what their versions of what it looks like. What is your version of freedom? What is your version of tyranny? And they're all claiming that they're right, of course. And so you just have to fit in where you feel you belong. If you feel you belong this way, then that's where you belong. If you feel you belong that way, then that's where you belong. Freedom versus tyranny. What is your interpretation of freedom? How do you measure freedom? What is your interpretation of tyranny? How do you measure that? How do you describe it? How do you feel it? Who do you believe are the tyrants? Who do you believe, who do you understand in your wisdom, in your experience, in your observation? Who are the tyrannical operators? Who are the elites and not so elite criminals, sociopaths, psychopaths who are trying to impose their tyranny? Who do you think there are? I already know, in my opinion, I've already identified them many times over. And who do you think, for example, represents freedom? Who represent free market, open capitalism? Who represents respect and honor of the U.S. Constitution, for example? Things like that. It's up to the individual. I'm noticing over here, I have to admit, this is just very quite disturbing to me. I have to admit, over here, I'm noticing that most people are completely and utterly oblivious to the whole thing. The only thing that they're noticing is that, oh, my gasoline is going up. Oh, my credit card monthly payments are going through the roof. Oh, I can't keep up with my mortgage. Oh, man, I'm really strapped. Oh, man, food prices have gone up. It's really, really scary. That's just the very, very, very front edge of what the effect of tyranny looks like. It's financial tyranny. It's the currency wars going on across the world right now as each population tries to, number one, attain and regain and attain and maintain sovereignty. Their sovereign selves. The thing is, the sovereign self is enemy number one to the tyrants. So it's war. And of course, you get to the point where it becomes so unbearable that the tyrants act out and lash out and become very violent. And so you get what they call war. Because the tyrants will refuse to let go of their power and their money and control. And when they get desperate, that's when they go to war. Right now, there are different countries that are desperate, and so they are at war. It's becoming very violent, very deadly, very bloody. And it's spreading. And it's spreading. What's that? Let me just catch up a bit with the chat here. Hello, Russian Thoughtbot. What's up with the gang? Economy now with Mr. Biden is doing so much better. Well, that's an opinion. I have a different opinion, but thanks for sharing, Esther. All of you with pets, check out Saving Pets One Pet at a Time Facebook group or Veterinary Secrets on YouTube. Something happening with pet food. They are thinking it's the added What? January 18th, 2024. Reports of bloody diarrhea, vomiting, lethargy, food refusal, feeding for health or Blue Buffalo, Pure Balance, Purina Instinct. What? Stella and Chewy's Mary. Are you serious, Tina? Are you saying that the pet food companies are poisoning the pet food to get rid of our pets? That's diabolical. I find that hard to believe. But then again, there are tremendously evil people in this world. Sorry about that. Oh, you know what? I just thought of something, Esther. Economy now with Mr. Biden is doing so much better. Well, there is an aspect to what you're talking about because the Biden administration is very, very much on board with war. And they are deeply bedded with BlackRock, State Street, Vanguard, all the big mega fund management groups. Trillions and trillions of dollars under fund management, and one of their biggest assets, of course, is the military-industrial complex, especially in America. That's Boeing, Lockheed Martin, Northrop Grumman, GM, military, Lockheed. What's the other one? Anyway, there's about 5 mega corporations that dominate the military and industrial complex in the United States, and they're doing very well. Excellent stocks. So if you've got holdings, like if you own the Dow or the S&P, you're going to see your stocks going up, or at least stabilizing and holding. Yeah, hey, Russian Thoughtbot, the things that you're just talking about right now. I've seen that, of course, today. I was in the grocery store today. I know exactly what you're talking about. And Russian Thoughtbot, did you hear about the story in Europe? It's the, I forgot the name of the big, it's one of the really biggest grocery chains in Europe. They have basically canceled all orders with Pepsi. All the Pepsi products have now been removed from the store, and all orders canceled because these big corporations like Mondelez, Nestle, Unilever, all the mega food corporations that own all the other corporations that own all the other corporations, they are gouging and they are profiteering because they can. They're doing it because they can, because there's nothing to stop them. And they are literally profiteering. And you're absolutely right. So guess what happened? Here's another story. I saw this, Love Triber was telling me this the other day. Love Triber was in the grocery store and she was stocking up. I think it was on things like discounted meats of various kinds. Super discounted. Because if you, let's take for example massive T-bone steak or something, and it's like an enormous price tag on it, or you get the 4-pack. I'm talking to the carnivores who eat meat, of course. So it's very expensive. If you want premium steak, brand new, fresh, and everything, it's very expensive. But if you wait and then you wait and you wait, the store has to discount because nobody can buy it. And even at Costco, nobody can buy it. So they wait, and then even when it goes to the discount, it still sits there, and then you wait for the buy one get one free package deal plus the discounts, and then you walk out there with a decent price. And in a way, part of it for me is heartbreaking because I think we need to respect the animals. Those animals are basically sacrificed to keep people like me alive. I'm a carnivore. I eat meat. I eat meats, fruits, and vegetables. I have a very healthy diet as far as I'm concerned. And it is very tragic that we have to eat millions and millions of animals every year. Cows, pigs, chickens, turkeys, seafood. But people have been doing that for 150, 200,000 years ever since we became who we are. But anyway, it's becoming what you're talking about, ThoughtBot, is it's now worldwide. It's not just America, it's not just Europe, it's worldwide, and everybody's noticing it. And what Love Triber was telling me, she came up to the grocery checkout and her cart had very, very, very good deals of what you could consider like prepper food. Cans of Progresso type soup things, heavily discounted. Meats, heavily discounted. Some bakery treats, heavily discounted. And the person next to her in line behind her had their cart loaded up with Coke and Pepsi, huge crates for the family. And Love Triber could overhear the conversation like, oh my God, this is getting, the family back there was like, this is getting really, really expensive. And Laura, Love Triber looked at them and kind of went, yes. I don't think there was an actual conversation. It was just something that was noticed. So you put one shopping cart next to the other. What are your priorities? Do you want to drink caffeinated sugar water with a lot of chemicals that costs a fortune and has really zero nutritional value? Or do you want food? What are you going to do with your budget? Some people haven't hit the point of pain yet. If you haven't hit that point of pain yet, then you're going to keep on buying all this stuff that doesn't make any sense when you live on the margins. When you live on the margins, you have to watch your budget extremely carefully. And in the end, what you do is you start to factor like, it's better to buy. You never go to the middle of the store where you have all the freezer aisles and all the high-cost, high-prep food. You go to the outside where you can get just packages of meat or fruits and vegetables. And then you can go to the pasta, rice, and breads section. That's about it. And that will cut your grocery bill from here to here. But if you do it very judiciously, using your coupons and store cards or whatever, you can cut the prices even further. And I'm at the point where I have to do that. I would do that anyway. But anyway, yeah. Well, I want to think of this. What's this about the pet food? That's very scary. Wait a minute. Hold on. The stores will not stop raising prices, and the customers simply can't buy the crap anymore. That's true. That's what's happening. Not all pet foods. A lot of pet food brands thinking that they may be sourced from China. Okay. Most pet food brands add synthetic vitamin mixes. That's why a lot of brands are being identified. Okay. Maybe I don't want that. I don't trust or tap or bottled water. Oh, I understand. Well, here's an example. Over here, there are 4 50-gallon water barrels and an independent pump. It's emergency water because you're going to need it. If you watch all the sources that I do, you would realize it's time to be, even if you're not a prepper and you don't want to become a prepper, it's time to at least become aware that, oh my God, some really, really bad things could happen at any time, because Pluto just crossed into Aquarius, and the Aquarius theme translates into extreme volatility, extreme unpredictability, an unyielding demand for freedom, and almost at any price. The Aquarian energy, the Uranian energy, Aquarius is ruled by Uranus. Uranus refuses imprisonment. it can get very, very belligerent. Uranus Aquarius energy can become very belligerent and highly resistant to any form of restriction on their freedoms. It sounds weird, but Elon Musk, okay, he has Mars in Aquarius in the 8th house. So he is essentially a freedom fighter. Translate that simply. Mars in Aquarius, a freedom fighter. Freedom of speech, freedom for the people. Tina's got well water at your house and it tastes good. Oh my God, that's awesome. You're very, very lucky. Personally, I've never had too much of a problem with tap water, so long as it tastes pretty good. But I'm becoming a little bit more fussy. I actually drink more and more filtered water these days. And I got some filters and stuff. I got huge amounts of emergency water, not bottles, but huge amounts. The size of oil drums. 50 gallon, 55 gallon drums. And that's for starters. And there's going to be a couple of 1,000 gallons added onto the stash soon. Yeah. So it's different for everybody. Let me go back to the map again for a second. So a lot of countries in Africa right now are realizing that they've been living under tyrannical regimes from Europe for like 150 years, and they're sick of it. So they've always been sick of it, but they're trying to shake off all the colonization of Africa from Northern Europe. They're trying to get rid of it. In other words, Africans just want to be Africans. They want to reclaim Africa for themselves. Get rid of all the Chinese, get rid of all the Americans, get rid of all the Europeans who are trying to steal Africa's resources. Let Africa be Africa. And the same thing with the Chinese people over here. They're very deeply aware that they live under a tyrannical regime, the CC thing run by Mr. Ping, and they are starting to revolt. It's a very, very dangerous thing to revolt and stand up to the CCE in China. But they're doing it now because they're desperate. The people here, there's like 1 billion people here who live on less than $300 a month. So they're desperate. And guess what? Desperate people do desperate things. There's a lot of desperation here. Hopelessness and desperation. A lot of it over here and here. Okay, a lot of it here. Even in the Balkans, it's starting to become very, very volatile because desperate people are doing desperate things. Okay, same thing all over here and all over here. Desperate people do desperate things. So there's a lot of, and it isn't just having conversations or meetings or political things. It's violence. It's just, you get to the point where people don't have anything else. There's only one way to express anymore, and that's to use violence. And that's why we're seeing so much violence breaking out across the world, and it's going to expand, and it's going to go everywhere. It's inside America now. We are heavily infected, infiltrated, invaded by very hostile people who are determined to take down this amazing place here. So if you're not prepped up and you're not defended and you're not ready to protect and defend yourself, you might want to start thinking about it. Or at least have somewhere that you can hide. If you can bug out way up into Canada here, if you can tolerate extreme cold weather, you're less likely to be a victim. But anyway, a Pluto in Aquarius, yeah, it's basically freedom versus tyranny, and that's where we are right now. We're on the cusp, and it's happening, so that's why we're seeing this explosion of headlines across the world regarding war, revolution, war, revolution, war. It's even happening in Russia. People are going into a state of revolution against the leadership. It's really, really freakish. But again, all I can say is I told you so. Esther's known preppers before. It was all a futile effort. Russian Pluto. Hold on, let me catch up with the... that Pluto, or man, if you take the silhouette of the character Pluto, it fits perfectly into the whitish outline of the planet image. Really? What? Really? Interesting. Esther has known some preppers before, and it was all a futile effort. I guess it would up to a point, because if things get really, really, really bad, I guess even the preppers run out. They run out of food, they run out of water, they run out of shelter, they run out of defense tools, they run out of ammo, they run out of hope. You know, who knows what's going to happen in detail, or where things are going to break out, but it's getting a little bit scary, and I have to admit, I hadn't seen it before here in sunny Las Vegas. Over here, because people don't talk about it much regarding the invasion. Okay, the invasion, they mostly talk about Texas and Arizona, and then the sanctuary cities over here, 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 here. They never talk about Las Vegas, but it's starting to happen here. I'm starting to see people who are definitely not from here, and they're definitely not your local homeless population. These are people who are from a completely different worlds. So it's happening all over America. There's millions and millions all over America. Who knows what's going to happen, but it's all part of the planned demolition of the United States. Hey Esther, have you ever seen those wacko... Esther, have you ever seen those YouTube channels? Like I don't watch those channels, but I know they exist. I've seen clips from them. They're like suburban preppers. These are people who've either been first responders, or they're in the military, or they've always wanted to be involved in some kind of local militia, and be prepared for, the end of the world, Armageddon, Civil War and everything. And so they have these videos, and they go build huts out in the wood, and they show you how to build campfires, and they show you how to prepare your self-defense tools, and they show you what kind of gear, what kind of hats to buy, what kind of earmuffs, what kind of walkie-talkies, what kind of extreme weather gear, what kind of how to can your food, how to grow fruits and vegetables out in the middle of nowhere, how to, grow your own chickens and grow your own whatever it might be. And they take it very, very, very seriously. Yeah. Hello, Love Triber. Try. Okay. Funny. NASA trolls. Alright, let me go over here. Just want to check up on something. Give me a second. I'll be right back. Okie dokie. I'm just clicking around trying to manage some of the software here. Give me a second. Just got to keep the show going, okay? All right, where were we? So right now, like I said at the beginning, what I've just been doing is simply observing. Just observing. Because, yes, as you know, over the years, I've done different versions of astrology. And I did, hundreds and hundreds of videos for sun, moon, and rising, 12 different signs every single month. And then I realized that there's things that are very important that I need to focus on, and that's how I ended up migrating towards this more global approach to things, and I started neglecting to the reports, and that all happened simultaneously with the demise of the channel. And so things are the way they are here today with the channel. So I look at things more from a global perspective, especially when it comes to Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto, because they're called the transpersonal planets. You can't see them, and they move so slowly that you don't really notice them on a day-to-day basis, like you might notice the moon or Mercury or Mars, for example. So other things that I've been noticing, of course, because at the cusp here, excuse me. At the cusp over here, Pluto in Aquarius. Aquarius is relating to Uranus. Uranus rules Aquarius. And it's turning out to be a bit of a harsh angle, because soon the sun is going to be very tight, hard squared with Jupiter and Uranus. So that's going to, my guess is that we're going to see a lot more bizarre weather and planetary things like earthquakes, volcanoes, really bizarre, wacky climate stuff that kind of doesn't make sense on the normal scale, because we only see things from a fairly short-term perspective. But right now, some of you may know, we're heading into a solar maximum, which is probably going to peak out in the middle of 2025. In other words, solar activity, more and more solar flares and more, let's say, solar instability is going to create the same over here on Earth. And they're starting to measure it very precisely now, that some of these solar flares have a direct impact on your heart. Okay? Also your mind, but primarily your heart and your physiology. The solar flares, the obvious one is the aurora borealis, so when you can see them up here, and you can see them down here sometimes too. So a lot of things happening simultaneously, but I'm focusing on this thing here because it's monumental for the way people experience life on this world. We've been dealing with the Capricorn energy for 18 years, where it's become increasingly oppressive as the negative expression of Capricorn inevitably reaches a crescendo at 29 degrees over here, when it becomes very, very obvious that the global tyrants are right in your face trying to impose their tyranny. It's become so obvious that even on the mainstream news now, they're talking about the World Economic Forum, and how the World Economic Forum is realizing that they've lost a lot of trust and power, because the rest of the people are starting to figure out that the World Economic Forum, United Nations, all of those folks, the swarm, they have a very tyrannical agenda that is very contrary to our freedoms. And so we're seeing it's becoming very clear, like black and white, tyranny versus freedom. And it's going to be a continuous story over the next 20 years, because we cannot resolve these issues that have been building up for 250 years. We can't resolve them next week or next month or in the next general election or the one after that. It's going to be figured out over the next 20 years. So in terms of tectonic plates and world geography, this is going to look more or less the same. There's some very active tectonic plate activity over here right now. Also in the mid-South Atlantic over here. And also, I think it's over here. Also over here. Very active earthquake zones. And that's going to become more volatile as well. Over here in the United States, for example, a lot of folks have realized that we just had a very, very extreme winter, considering everyone's talking about, the climate, global warming, climate change issues. And so it's getting a little tricky to argue in favor of the, we're all going to be boiling in the oceans tomorrow. Right now, there's a lot of extreme cold. I mean, last week they had the extreme cold, and the 10 days before that as well. They're getting another one, but it's already kind of over, and soon things are going to warm up. Over here, they had some very, very extreme hyper cold, hyper flooding, and it's been very tragic for millions and millions of people in China as their lives and economies, homes and families have been destroyed. Tumultuous, okay? What's that, Tina? Wait a minute, I want to see, hold on, I'm going to put that over here. Yeah, right now, thank you for the reminder there, Love Tribe, but we're heading into the global, the solar maximum. It's an 11-year cycle. It's pretty precise. A solar maximum where the solar sun activity becomes very, very activated. A lot more solar flares affecting us in such a way that we can feel more agitated, and the ozone layers are disrupted. The magnetic poles are shifting a lot, and so there are places across the world that are feeling a lot more heat than they might normally do, and a lot more cold than they might normally do. So it's kind of frightening for some people in certain places, and they're going to blame it on God or the planets or whatever, but it's a very predictable cycle. We're reaching a peak right now, and by about end of 2025, 2026, it's going to crash, okay? And things are going to get cooler back here on our planet. It's funny, if you look at the planet like this, if this was a regular globe, all you would see is ocean. And there's a little tip of California, there's a little tiny blip for New Zealand, but the rest of that is ocean. There's Hawaii, okay? All right, I just want to catch up with the chat. Hold on, give me a second here. Give me a future car. Oh, what's this from Love Triber? Hi, guys. Esther, there's everything to gain prepping slowly and steady. Well, it's just a good idea to have stuff on hand anyway. Buy what you eat and then rotate. Some extra canned food's better than no good in an emergency. For example, those horrible winter storms. Yeah. Could be anything. Future car repairs, dip into the funds. An accident, health, physical, car, whatever, illness, who knows. Something unexpected that you have to buffer. Again, it's really about common sense. A lot of people in America just use credit cards for their buffer, but it's really nice to have a freezer and a fridge that's full of food. Love Triber, I'm not super religious, but God told Noah to prepare. Tina says, drink water where your horse drinks. A horse will never drink bad water. Make your bed where the cat sleeps peacefully. Oh, interesting. Just posted by my friend. I read that before about the horses. Cats over here share the bed. Yes, that's true. Love Triber. We're going into grand solar minimum. We're going into a maximum. We're going into a grand solar maximum. We're at the very end of the 11-year cycle. It's going to peak around the end of it's going to peak around 2025, and then it's going to crash. If anyone's seen the trailer for the movie The Gray State, I don't know, I didn't. It shows a guillotine briefly. The writer-director of that movie was murdered along with his family before it was finished. Ew. Oh, interesting. The Gray State. In other words, are you hinting, Thoughtbot, that the director-writer was exposing the deep state? Trailer on YouTube? Really? Oh yeah, I saw that one, Love Triber. Over here in Russia. Of course, over here in Russia. Way up here in the Arctic Circle, they have permafrost, right? But if things get really warm, as has happened in the past, some of this could melt, and it could release very ancient viruses that have been buried in the permafrost for millions of years. Okay, remember, a few million years is nothing, but there was a time where the globe did not look like this at all. Also, rumor has it that the cooling Love Triber can foods freeze. I don't know. I never thought about that. All right, I'm just going to put that over here. I am going to get a little top up on my tea, so give me a few moments, folks, and I'll be right back. No, where am I? Where am I? Okay, give me a moment, folks. I'll be right back. All right, I'm back. Okay, where am I? All right, Precious, where are you? Let's have a look here. Precious Moments, where are you? Are you busy? Are you hanging out? Are you still here? Did I scare you away? Because I'm going to start your reading in a moment. I haven't really got any bookings this evening, so if anyone wants a reading, let me know. You know the routine. In case you're watching and you're new, I mean, it's very hard for me to tell. As far as I can tell, there's only just a handful of people here, just our regulars. Sometimes we get some visitors. We'll see. But if anyone's interested and you're watching without signing in, people do that. You can watch and it won't show up here, so I don't really know what's happening. What I know is like when somebody clicks into the chat, then that shows up here as a visitor to the show. Okay? All right. So, what I was going to say is, Precious Moments, are you here? Are you ready to receive your reading? Because I promised a reading for you. And you put your notes in way earlier when we started, over an hour ago. I'm very interested in that movie, Thoughtbot. I'm very interested, so I'm going to check that out. Okay. Yeah, I understand, Tina. No worries. I guess you got to just hang in for now. Interesting. People are talking about frozen canned food. I mean, it seems to me like if it's canned food, it's already preserved, right? I mean, you know, if you're in a cold climate and it's cold outside, you can put stuff out in the ice and the snow, and that'll preserve it. I can remember when I was a little kid, and my mom, she is from like Eastern Canada, Quebecois, Montreal and Vermont kind of area. And she used to tell me stories about how the local iceman would, you know, come around digging up big chunks of ice in winter and delivering chunks to the farms and the farmers in the springtime. And the farms and the farmers would have to keep that ice as long as possible to keep things cool. So they would have sheds, you know, filled with straw and hay to create insulation to keep the ice from melting, and that was the primitive early freezers. Hi, Bubba. Hi, Bubba. Do you like iced tea, Bubba? No, Bubba wants to supervise. Okay. Hi, Bubba. Yeah. Hi. Precious, where are you? I mean, it doesn't matter. You don't have to be here because you're going to get your reading anyway. No worries. We haven't seen Gregory in a while. He might be off skiing or something. He deserves a break. He's a good man. He's worked hard and he's gone through huge transformations. And we've done readings before with Gregory, and he is scheduled for, you know, big transformations. Oh, little Bubba, why are you being so affectionate, okay? All right, let's get over here. It's getting a bit crowded. All right, Bubba. Okie dokie. Thank you, Bubba. Thanks for checking in on me. Alrighty, Bubba. Alright. Now, I'm going to put you over here for a little while. Okay, Bubba? Because I got to get to work. I'm doing a reading. Thanks, Bubba. We'll connect again soon. Okay, I'm going to tuck all this stuff away. Do a reading for the cat. I remember a while back, no, I wasn't inviting you, Thoughtbot, because I know you already mentioned a while back that you had one reading and it was kind of terrifying. And so you thought, nope, that's it. No more readings for Thoughtbot. But on the other hand, you said you'd like to hang out and enjoy conversing about global politics and stuff. So, yeah. You know, you don't have to have a reading to come here and hang out. It's a service that I offer. Okay, I'm going to put this aside. By the way, about this particular chart here, you might have noticed the Sagittarius-Gemini axis is on fire. Very briefly, because it's based around the moon, so it's very quick. But it's very, very acute onto the Neptune energy. So for a brief moment in time, what we're seeing is a very, very like clear, precise exposure of, I would say, fraud, lies, betrayal, deception, theft, crime, all the bad things, especially that are happening in Washington, D.C. And it's all being exposed, and with the Saturn energy, it's being held accountable. Okay, it's going to be very, very hard to do because the ruling elites have developed an extremely effective defense system over the last 20, 30, 40 years to protect themselves so that they can abuse the Constitution and the people of America. But Americans are sick of it. So there is pushback now, and the pushback is becoming mainstream. Okay? I just wanted to add that. In other words, Saturn is extremely strong right now. Saturn in Pisces. And what's weird, because simultaneously with all this green, this is a very powerful alignment here. It's making the energy of reality checks regarding fraud, deception, lies, betrayal, and so on very acute, very simple, very direct, very much in your face. On the other hand, because it's so harmonious, there are still people in the ruling elite who are doing everything they can to deny the fraud, deception, betrayal, lies, and deceit, all of that. All right, we talked about that. Okay, we're at the tipping point, so expect huge changes in your life, in your world, over the next 20 years. I know that sounds ridiculous, but that's kind of what I'm saying. And it starts now, and always go back. You can always comfortably and safely go back to the theme of freedom versus tyranny. How does that affect you? Oh, by the way, before I do, Precious, where are you? Come on, Precious. Bubba is being very sensitive this evening. For some reason, he seems to be very concerned about needing a lot of attention, a lot of cuddles. Now, so I was going to say something. Here's what I'm going to do. Here's what I'm going to do. Give me a second. Sorry, I'm a little disoriented. Give me a second. Okay. Getting things straight in order here. We're going to do a reading for Precious Moments. It's a personal reading. It's about her relationship with her gentleman over in Maine. As you know, Precious Moments is up there in Edmonton, Canada, and she had an extremely challenging situation, becoming homeless with her 3 kids after refusing to take a certain injection regarding a certain famous bug, which is number 19. And they fired her, so she lost almost everything. Ended up having to live in a shelter with her 3 kids, but now things are getting back to normal again, so she's becoming more vibrant and lively. But it's a hell of a thing to recover. By the way, some of you might know, do any of you remember Lily Lynn? I might put this in the chat. I might do a separate video about it. I know a lot of people are strapped for cash. It's very, very difficult right now for a lot of people. And it's probably going to get worse for some people. Not everybody. Some people are having a fantastic time right now. But at the time when Precious Moments was going through her demise, I didn't really have any idea how to help except, ask for handouts and donations. We just did that a couple of times with a few people through email. But this time with Lily Lynn, she's a member. We'd hardly ever see her because she's over in Austria on a completely different time zone. It's basically impossible for her to hang out with us here on Sunday evenings because it's like, 4 o'clock in the morning for her. And so Lily Lynn is in kind of a dire situation right now. The whole of the country of Austria is going through something similar to what's happening in Europe, rest of Europe, Germany, and so on, where there's tremendous inflation and a lot of tyrannical pressure from the political class onto the people, and it's creating huge amounts of unemployment, inflation, and misery. And Lily Lynn is effectively a victim. So it looks like she's losing her home and is going to be evicted and is looking for shelter. And she has one son who has become very muted about the whole thing because it's kind of frightening to go homeless when you're a family, okay? Let me do this, okay? The cat wants a reading. Oh, little Bubba. Little Bubba. Little Bubba. All right. I'm going to put that over here. So it looks like Bubba's going to be here for the rest of the show. So what I'm going to do now, okay, we're going to do a little mini reading for Precious. You know what I might do, because we're having it's a very, very somber, subdued evening. I don't know if any of you can feel it. I think it's because we're at this tipping point. There's enough shared global consciousness where everybody on Earth, most people, well, not everybody, most people in my, I would say, digital online community are very acutely aware that there's profound changes happening with society and their personal lives. When I look around the day-to-day community here, the people seem oblivious. So I don't know what to tell you about that, but we're at the very, very opening days of this time of revolution, freedom versus tyranny. And some people will feel it much later over the next few years. I'm feeling it right now because I'm acutely aware and I'm very observant. So, anyway, right now, what we should do, what I think would be really good to do, is one of those big readings that we do for the group, like a big group spirit reading type thing, spiritual heart journey reading. But I don't think I can handle it tonight, okay? Excuse me. No jumpers, no flyers. Let's bless this deck, bless every single card. Let's bless everybody who's ever come to the channel and anybody who's coming to the channel. Thank you, dear Google, YouTube. Despite my grumbling, thank you for giving me the opportunity to be here and do this. And thank you to all the software designers on all the multiple, things and softwares and tools that I have to use to do the show, and so on and so on. There's so many things that I could do to make it so much better, but it's sort of tragically sad and miserably pointless because the channel won't allow it. So we're doing what we can for now. So we've got our little micro community. And I'm very, very grateful that you're all here. Thank you so much. All right, Precious, here we go. What kind of messages do we have tonight for Precious regarding herself and her fellow over there in Maine? Okay, cards are well shuffled. Let's bless this deck, bless every single card, the camera, the lights, the software, the monitors, the computer, the microphones, the cables, the electricity, the lighting, all of it. Thank you very, very much. Excuse me. Ouch, that was horrible. Sorry. Okay, see you, Thoughtbot. Oh, you know what? I forgot to put out the magic post-it note. Sorry, Precious. All right. N. Edwards. Hey, you've been here before. Well, I'll give you a few. I'm heavily dominated by water signs, sun, moon, and rising. I'm heavily dominated by water. I have a chart that is overwhelmingly water with very little grounding, very little earthing stuff. And so my natural, by nature, you could almost say I'm like a spirit entity that happens to be in a physical body. And so I have a long history in my life of big challenges, trying to stay grounded and have anything that you would call stability or structure in life. Because for whatever reason, I've entered a life which is more to do with Pisces type themes, where sometimes it's very hard to grasp reality. The more and more you try to, let's say, define the Piscean Neptune energy, the more diffuse and undefinable it becomes. I'm an artist and a writer and musician by nature, but I studied the sciences very heavily because I wanted to try and find some form of stability in my life. And it never, no matter all my efforts, it never quite worked. Yeah, anyway, so think of Cancer, Scorpio, Pisces energies. I'm not going to give the whole chart away. One last little flip here. Remember, I don't do reversals either. Oh, I think I got to tell everybody about Path Traveler. Hopefully I'll remember that after I do this reading. Okay, what kind of messages do we have here tonight for Precious Moments regarding things with her fellow? Let's have a look. Okay. All right, here's the situation. Here's the challenges. And here's how we're going to handle things. Now, let's have a look. Surrounding influences. These are just influences. It's not fact. It's not destiny exactly. Let's have a look. We've got the Eight of Swords. So what I'm sensing for the time being is that there's a lot of frustration going on, and it's like an ongoing difficulty in terms of navigating how the relationship progresses. Okay? My feeling is that also this doesn't just apply to you, okay, Precious Moments? It's almost like he's having a mirror experience himself, like it's just as difficult for him to navigate the situation as it is for you to navigate the situation. And it's almost like the more that you try to impose logic and common sense to get things to work out, the more and more precarious things become. And so it's almost like, you know, have you heard that expression, thoughts are things? Like if you think about it too much, the thoughts, especially if you focus on the negative challenges that you might face, then that's the energy that manifests. And so you end up tying yourself up in knots, like the more you think about what's not working, or the more you end up tied up in knots. And so you end up, I'm not going to tell you how to live your life, but you could end up saying like, and I'm not going to try and predict the reading here, but when you realize that, oh my gosh, by trying, almost like by trying to force a situation, it might make things more complicated. In other words, the more you dig into how are we going to make this work, the more complicated it becomes. Where, like I was having a meeting the other night with someone, and we suggested like, well, just abandon any form of logic, throw it all out and get into the prayer mode and ask for guidance and protection. On top of that, trust and believe that you are guided and protected, that the relationship is guided and protected in some way, form, or other. However it works out, for better or worse, there is meaning and purpose to this thing. So I have a little thing that I read to myself. Well, there's that whole song, I am guided and protected. and it has all the verses in it. So maybe I'll play that after I do this. How about that, okay? Let's have a look at the situation. Remember, this is external influences, okay? Precious moments. Like with the planets, the tipping point here with the Aquarius energy, this Pluto at the cusp, Sun at the cusp. When you get cusp energy, like this is very powerful cusp energy here, things can get very unstable, difficult, very difficult to manage. Okay? And so the best thing that you can do is kind of just surrender to the moment and just try and maintain peace in yourself. What's the situation? Okay. So the situation itself pivots around personal happiness, home and family. In other words, it's very, to me it looks very, very simple. I think we've talked about this already. The idea here, the goal is happy families, happy family, happy precious moments, happy man and woman together, happy, having one of the sacred things that a lot of people wish for in their life is to have a happy home and a family where they really feel it in their guts, their bones, the energy of love. And not just romance, but the energy of love when, when it's inconvenient to love, when it's very, very hard to love, and you love anyway, So this makes me feel extremely warm and fuzzy, okay? Especially when you contrast it with the Eight of Swords, which to me is indicating that you're swimming in an environment that's highly unpredictable, potentially very unstable. And for example, okay, here with all these swords and everything, we're talking about intellectual things, communications. For example, Precious, is if there's a lot of issues regarding, what do they call it, the paperwork for legal status to get in and out, or, residency and all of that, it can be very, very tricky. You say the wrong thing at the wrong time at the wrong meeting with the wrong people. You sign the wrong things on the wrong piece of paper or at the wrong time in the wrong meeting at the wrong place. It can really screw up the situation. So you have to be very, very, very careful. It's like walking in a maze, okay? Very precarious. But it looks like the goals and the intention, the situation are based on something very simple, pure, and wholesome. What are the challenges here? Okay, so with the Nine of Pentacles, it feels to me that it's probably for both parties. Like, how do both sides create an environment where they are both, let's say, worthy of each other? So you don't have, what do they call it? Codependency, okay? Codependency. So when people are creating family situations, obviously there's tremendous pressure on resources, things like time, money, food, your energy, your health and everything, to keep everything going, to keep the happy family situation. And of course, one of the handiest things that you can have is money, and then more money. It's really, really great, especially if you can generate it yourself, like being a good employee. Maybe you've got good skills, and maybe you've got the ability to be well employed and highly valued, or maybe you can be an independent, self-employed. It's very, very difficult to do. For example, if you do have ambitions to be self-employed, you might feel that it's a bit scary, like, oh my God, it's really difficult. I don't know if I could ever handle it, because deep down it makes me feel that you would love to be self-employed or have some kind of independent source of income that you've created yourself that makes your life more sustainable. Also, the same for your fellow, where you might be both, in other words, both of you might be feeling like, I wish I had more money. I wish I had greater, just natural resources at my disposal just to sort of, lubricate the situation a bit better so you could, streamline everything. Oh, yeah, I can just fly over to meet you, hang out for a month. Oh, sure, I can pay the fees for all this registration stuff or whatever it is. Oh, sure, I've got tons of money saved up and retirement funds and everything, so don't worry. No, this is more like, ooh, man, are we going to be financially strapped? Am I financially strapped? Is he financially strapped? Is the whole family situation in jeopardy because there are challenges to creating enough financial stability and independence for the family to operate as a successful unit? Okay? Pretty much every family has to deal with that, okay, at some point, to some level, okay, Precious? So it's not like you're in a very extreme isolated condition, especially when there's kids involved. It takes huge amounts of time, energy, and money. Now, so how are we going to proceed here? Because you are in the maze, okay? You are in the maze. Let's see, how do we proceed? Okay. I felt two things immediately when I saw the Empress card. First of all, Venus, okay, very much associated with bounty and money and the good things in life. Just remember that you, in your own right, you are an awesome woman in your own right, and you have this natural gift of girl power. Just think of everything that you've been through over the last few years, the incredible stress, the incredible tragedies, the incredible losses, but you're still going. And last time where we had an actual, I think it was a Zoom meeting, and you were very shy on camera, but you were very, very chirpy and very active through your voice, and it made me feel that you're stronger than ever, even though you have a lot of challenges with your life and the situation and the relationship. You seem to have a way to get the most value out of it and make the best of a situation. So going forward, you know how a lot of relationship dynamics, they say that, this is not the queen of anything, but the Empress is very, very powerful feminine energy, that in a lot of relationships, it is the woman that actually is the dominant partner. And then the woman grants power to the male in such a way that the male can feel empowered and conduct himself in a manner that makes him feel empowered as a male. But that is at the grace of the woman, if that makes sense, okay? So my feeling is with this reading here, it's very obvious you've got challenges, okay? But the intentions are very good and very wholesome. And yeah, okay, so maybe money might be a problem overall, but it's more to do with fear than anything else. And so going forward, to me it looks like there's a little reminder here. Please, Precious, don't forget that you have that awesome thing. It's called girl power. It's very, very real. It's very, very powerful. And deep down, you know what it is. You've had to tap into it before. And I'm not saying you have to force anything here, because the Empress doesn't have to force anything. All she does is live by example, by living and believing in her strength, her power, her beauty, her magnificence, her abundance, and her rights and her freedom and privileges that are hers by nature. And so don't ever forget that, okay? Because that's a very powerful energy. And so long as you continue to radiate that energy, I would maintain your optimism despite any obstacles, okay? Mr. Ross, of course. For you, sir, of course. Thank you for the notes there, ThoughtBot. The gray state. Okay, we'll see about that. All right, so Gregory, if you want one, yeah, let's do it. Let's do it, man. I'm going to put this all together here. Yeah, it looks like Precious is going to be okay, despite the challenges. All right, let's have a look. Let's have a look here. I'm just going to shuffle. Give me a moment. I need to shuffle up a little bit. God, I got through that pretty quickly. Bubba went off to have a nap, so I'll take care of Bubba after the show. We're going to do a reading for Gregory by the look of it. I'll just move ahead here, okay, Gregory? We'll just get on with it, okay? Let's have a look. I'm going to put that over here for a moment so I got some room. You got it, Mr. Russ. Don't worry. Okie dokie. It looks like we're set to go. I'm going to go over here and do this. All right, let's have a look. So, let's just dive in, okay, Mr. Ross? Oh, man. I'm glad you say that you're doing great, but terrible as far as moving forward. It's funny, you know what? I'm just going to share something here. When you just showed up a little bit, I got this really warm, fuzzy surge in my heart. And I kept thinking, oh, Gregory's here, man. I want to give you a big hug, man. I want to give you a big hug. And it made me feel like deep down inside, you're like, oh, it's like there's something happening inside of you, which is really deep and profound, where you're transcending. It makes me feel like you're transcending to a whole new frequency of operation. But because that is happening, it's like a snake shedding skin. It's almost like, it's like, oh, whoa, oh. I don't know what it's like for a snake to shed its skin. You know, crabs and scorpion and crabs and lobsters, they grow out of their shells as well. It's an amazing phenomenon, okay? And I just wanted to share that with you because some of you know I do get these psychic things now and again, and they come according to divine order. Let's put it that way. And I trust in it. I trust in it implicitly because it's never ever let me down. The reason I'm saying this, Gregory, is because I felt it extremely strongly, very, very precise. Some kind of evolutionary leap. And of course I'm going to blame it on Pluto. All right. There's all the other planets and Saturn, but wherever, look at it this way. Okay, let me go back to the charts a second. I just want to share something because this affects everybody on Earth, every single person on Earth. This is the tipping point. We are here today at that exact tipping point. It's been building up for about 3 years since January 2020, and it's going to go on for 20 years this way. But we're at the exact tipping point now. And look at it this way. In terms of the astrology, wherever this point lies in your chart, it could be anywhere, but it's in your chart somewhere. 0 degrees Aquarius. Did I say degrees? Yes, I did. I said degrees. Wherever it is, 0 degrees, oh, 0 degrees Aquarius. That's where it is. That's where, it doesn't matter whether you have Aquarius in your charts or what your Pluto is. That specific point marks a part in your natal chart where there's going to be profound transformation over the long term. It'll be very deep. It'll happen at the level of your soul. So you might not notice it happening at all because it's going to be very deep and very slow. But it is happening. It's happening for every person on Earth. All right. Oh boy. So sorry, I didn't finish what I was trying to say. I'm trying to make a point here. Okay, the point I'm trying to make is this. I had a very long meeting with a dear friend. And we do this on a regular basis. She's a very strong Capricorn. Okay? And she's gone through these different chapters in her life where she's high up in the corporate world for media, like TV and movies, okay? She's very high up, and we're very dear friends, and I miss her very, very much. And she was married to my dear friend Brian, who passed away a few years ago, and I miss him very much. But Brian is very active in terms of the presence of his soul in her life. He's like a guide and a dear friend and a protector, okay? Anyway, over this long talk, like a consultation type meeting. So she was describing her situation and these intense challenges, very, very deep, profound challenges that are almost impossible to overcome. Most people would have just given up and walked away, but she chose to move forward. And she did cross a threshold, but she wasn't quite aware of it. So after I learned all the details of the stories of these incidents, I felt confident to let her know that she had actually crossed a threshold where it's kind of frightening and disturbing because it looks like extreme instability and high levels of conflict in your life. But what it is, it's like a spurt of growth, like a tree shedding bark, or what is it? Like the chrysalis. You know, you can think of Scorpio energy, Pluto energy like a chrysalis. There's the caterpillar, the chrysalis, and then there's the butterfly. When you go through the chrysalis phase, it can be very, very disruptive. The chrysalis doesn't even know it's a chrysalis. The caterpillar doesn't know it's going to become a butterfly. Okay? So what happened with my dear friend is that once I explained like the spiritual dynamics of her situation, it was like, oh my God, I see what you mean. And she saw everything from a new perspective, where all this horrific corporate internal warfare, political internal politic nightmares are actually symptoms of her growth, to the point where she has actually outgrown her high-level corporate situation. And that's terrifying, because where do you go from there? And the reality is she's going to a much better place now, which is even higher frequency. She's actually going to be moving, I truly believe it, over the next year or two. She's going to be moving into a situation which is far better, probably more rewarding, more financially, spiritually, emotionally, creatively rewarding, where she will be truly appreciated for who she really is at the depth of her soul. And when I conveyed the story to her from that perspective, it was like, oh my God, I see what you mean. I get it. Like, so all I have to do is understand that I have, in a nutshell, it comes down to this. I'm confiding. My friend won't mind because I'm not telling names and details, but basically she has outgrown the high levels at Apple TV movies and film. Okay? She's outgrown it. Where do you go from there? Because that's already very high up. But there is another level. It's a whole new stratosphere, okay? So my feeling, the reason I'm mentioning that is because, Gregory, just from hearing your notes in the chat, just from one comment, I'm doing great, but terrible as far as moving forward. To me, it feels like something very similar. Like, you know that there's something very profound and good that's happening inside of you. It's not necessarily comfortable because you're living through the chrysalis, the transformation, the phase. And that's, wherever that lies in your chart, I am attributing it to the 0 point for Pluto and Aquarius. Wherever that lies in your chart. But that's a whole other reading. So let's just get on with today's mini reading, okay? Actually, the same thing goes for all of us here. You might as well just say the same story for all of us here. It's very difficult to translate it into a personal situation, but sometimes I can do it. Anyway, please understand that there's tremendous upheaval going across the whole of planet Earth right now. The geology, the geography, the tectonic plates, volcanoes, earthquakes, flooding, tornadoes, hurricanes, extreme heat, extreme cold, extreme political warfare, extreme violence. It's all part of this cataclysmic upheaval as we seek to transform and grow and evolve into our better, newer selves, where freedom is at the very core. Okay? One last little mini shuffle, Gregory, and we're in business. All right, we are good. We've already blessed the deck, so that's fine. Let's have a look here. All right, here's the situation. Here's the challenges, and here's how we're going to handle it. Let's have a look at surrounding energies. Despite whatever I said, there might be something else comes up. Let's have a look. So we've got the 9 of Pentacles. This looks like to me it feels like a resonating theme, like that is starting to buzz, starting to like pump. It's starting to resonate and come alive inside of your life and your world. You are being stimulated, activated to create a new version, a new understanding, a new form of abundance in your life where you are more, well, obviously independent and more self-contained, to the point where it's almost like you are playing to your strengths that you have learned, and your skills, your merits, your talents, your gifts that you have amassed over the years in your professional career, and starting to look at it in a different way where it's time to optimize and recalibrate my understanding of wealth so that I am not constantly feeling like my sense of wealth and stability and independence is always contingent upon some hostile external factor. Let's have a look. What's the situation? Okay. Well, it looks like you're definitely in overdrive here. It sounds like you're definitely great. You've got the energy, you've got the passion, the talents, the gifts, the resources, the drive, the intention to do good, to be good, to have good, to feel good, right? It's there. And having fun is really, really important. I'm going to really go out on a limb here, Gregory. It's kind of an extension of what I was just talking about with my dear friend. My dear friend and her situation at Apple. Apple is the biggest, wealthiest company in the world. Bigger than Amazon, as far as I know. Stock market evaluation, whatever they call it. The valuation is big, bigger, and bigger, despite their problems. So with this Eight of Wands, my feeling is that you kind of know what I'm understanding already. You might understand and resonate with the story I just shared about my dear friend at Apple, where you might just need a reminder or like okay, sorry, here, let me get on with it. Let me do it like this. My friend also is delving into the world of real estate on a side thing because she's a Capricorn. She's just work, business, business, business. She loves it. She's in her element. She lost her husband, and so that part of life is gone. So she's totally immersed in career and so on, and it's working. So the idea, the point that I'm trying to get across is that instead of like having to chase what you think is wealth and abundance and reality according to what you've already learned in life, it might be an idea to just literally just keep feeling good the way you are right now, having fun, knowing that you really don't actually have a fundamental answer on how to create this new paradigm of wealth, of independence, of personal sovereignty. It's not there. There's no definition. What I'm sensing with dear Pluto here is you're getting a glimpse that there is a possibility for a new form, a transformation in terms of wealth and money. Remember, Pluto is very, very much about wealth and money and power, okay? And in very, very simple, blunt terms. So let's run with that. How do you define wealth? How do you define power, being self-empowered? How do you define money? How does that work in your life? And so on and so on. And this Pluto in Aquarius thing is going to change you. You will be changed and transformed. There's no point in fighting it, so might as well have fun and go with it. And just like I was trying to share with my friend at Apple, instead of trying to fit everything into pre-existing concepts and boxes, basically kind of go, you know what? Screw it. I might as well just go big, go me, have fun, just be happy, and radiate this new aura. Just focus on feeling happy and being happy, and your aura will change. And as your aura changes, the laws of attraction start to change with it. You start to radiate love, happiness, joy, and guess what happens? The physical universe responds, and you kind of get like the equivalents start to come to you, but they are not going to come to you in ways that you could define or predict at this moment. So you, again, with Uranus, with Aquarius energy, there's a phrase, expect the unexpected. So there's no point in having preconceived expectations of what wealth and abundance and happiness looks like going forward. It's better to just live by example. You know what? I want to go skiing this afternoon. I did it yesterday too, but it was so much fun I want to do it again. I know I should be doing something constructive and useful and, important and serious, but damn it, I want to have fun. I deserve it. I've been doing such important things. I've been saving people, protecting them, doing my career stuff, helping all these other people with their stuff. What about me? And then make it happen. You're putting out the energy that you need to attract what you need. It's the laws of attraction in action, okay? Okay, I just wanted to try to draw the parallel between you and your life and your situation and my friend at Apple. Because there are certain similar themes. It took her a while to understand or conceive of the idea like, wow, this is not a disaster. This whole new scenario that's starting to unfold is actually a beautiful thing. Whoa, I never thought about it that way. One door closes, another door opens. Okay, so it's really good that you're kind of in a good place in your own way, despite whatever stresses you might be feeling deep down inside about what's not working. Let's have a look. Where are the challenges here? Okay. Challenges of okay, let's just keep it simple. Getting it together. You know that you're going to have to, I guess, take charge. Become your own dynamo. Because no one's going to come and save you. No one's going to do it for you. Like, let's say you're out there on the slopes and you're doing life and you're being happy. You hang out with buddies, having a good time, or you want to travel and do a road trip somewhere, having a good time. No one's going to bump into you and say, you know what, Mr. Ross, you should be back at the house doing some sort of, seriously important work kind of thing. They're just going to kind of go along with you. Like, oh, wow, you're going on a trip. Can I come for a part of the ride? Oh, where you're going up to the slopes? Oh, yeah, let's do that. Come on. And so what I'm sensing with the Chariot here is that there's no external force, there's no external person who's going to make this part happen for you. In other words, oh God, I'm going to have to live through this transformational thing that TL is talking about. And I'm going to have to take charge. I'm going to have to own it. I'm going to have to create it through the laws of attraction. In other words, that thing we talk about, be loving, be loved. You have to be the initiator, okay? Be loving, be loved. You don't sit there waiting. I'm waiting to be loved so that I can prove that I'm loved, and then when I think I might be loved, then I'll be loving. But I'm not going to be loving until somebody proves to me that they love me. It's not going to work, okay? You're trying to turn nature upside down. The laws of attraction work in such a way that you have to be the initiator. And you know that. I'm sure you know that deep down. It's just that Sometimes it's a bit scary to have to be your own dynamo, your own initiator, your own, what's that guy's name? Tony Robbins. You know, those inspirational speakers. You have to be your own inspirational speaker without shouting it out loud. And it's almost like I don't want to do that. I want somebody to hold my hand and get me over here while I can stay happy without having to go through the me becoming my own dynamo and initiating the situations, and by deliberately going out and having fun, defying the laws of nature and physics in such a way that it doesn't make any sense. But I am determined to be happy, have fun anyway, because that's putting the laws of attraction in action. You might be reluctant to put the laws of attraction in action because you're scared that it might not work. What if I'm having too much fun? What if I'm too happy? Does that mean I'm going to turn into a derelict and lose everything? So, how are we going to proceed? Let's have a look. Very, very carefully. Okay, so with the Seven of Swords here, my feeling is that in order to advance, you're very well aware that there are all sorts of challenges and mysteries and treachery and potholes that lie ahead. And you've seen them all, you've done them all, you've felt them all, you've had them all, and you're sick of it, understandably. But the thing is, when I see this card for you, you know a lot about what doesn't work in life, okay? So, in other words, it's like, I don't know, like running a, I don't want to get in trouble here with politics, but it's almost like running a political campaign with yourself against yourself. How am I going to succeed in my campaign to be my most awesome self, knowing that I can also be my own worst enemy, because I don't want to actually get up and make that stuff happen. I would much rather it happens to me, rather than having to be my own dynamo and set up the energy field of the laws of attraction so it just happens. So, with the Seven of Swords, it makes me feel as though how am I going to say this? Let's put it this way. I'm sure you're very aware of all the little microscopic self-defeating behaviors that you might have that are planted deep in your psyche, deep in your day-to-day life. And you know all of them. You know every single one. And you know how they work. And you know how ultimately it's just like, fuck it, I knew it. It's my own damn fault, blah, 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 blah happened. And so with the Seven of Swords, it makes me feel like, since you already know the inner workings and the machinery of any kind of self-defeating behavior, that means you have the potential to navigate around your own self-defeating actions, thoughts, behaviors, beliefs. So it's almost like you're going to have to be very, very sneaky, very, very sneaky to get through this. So in other words, my feeling is it needs to be fun. And then you need to experience what it's like to have fun and then witness something good happening to you because you defied pre-existing beliefs that were self-defeating. In other words, so it's like you could almost, at the end of the day, for example, let's say you were out there having a good day, knowing deep down inside like, oh God, I should be doing this or should be doing that. But you also know that, wait a minute, because of the TL reading, I know that there's something bigger and better going on here, where if I keep tuned into the good energy, And I radiate that energy of joy, fun, happiness, success, just wanting to be alive, wanting to be me. That changes your aura, and that aura attracts what you need. And so when you look in the mirror at night, let's say you're having a shave or you're just cleaning up and you're just brushing your teeth, you're in your pajamas, get ready to go to bed, and you can look in the mirror, you know what? Ha, 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 ha. I outsmarted you, Gregory Ross. Gregory Ross, I outsmarted you, Gregory Ross. I figured out one of your sneaky little self-defeating things, and I worked my way around it. And so it's like you create this thing where you go to bed in peace. Like, it's a very unconventional way to advance and succeed and proceed and evolve, but it is a pathway. It's definitely a pathway. When you know, for example, the hidden enemy, think about the Pisces energy, think about 12th house energy, the hidden enemy. It's like, once you know, like, aha! Classic example of the hidden enemy in action, but now it's revealed, so it's no longer a hidden enemy. Ha! 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 No more self-sabotage. Ha! 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 Click, another event might happen in the next day. Oh, another classic example of self-sabotage. Now that I recognize it, we're not going to do that one again. It might be very tempting because sometimes self-sabotage techniques are very deeply entrenched, very, very comforting and distracting, but they work against your evolution. So anyway, I hope the reading helped you. Let's leave it there on the screen for a moment so that you have it in its full glory. I hope my story, my interpretation helps you. Okay? Thank you very much, Mr. Ross. It's been a pleasure to read for you, as always. Let's go over here. Okay, hold on. All right, so that about wraps it up for tonight. By the way, it looks like there's a solar flare heading directly towards Earth. It'll probably be here tomorrow. So if any of you are sensitive to these things, be aware. A lot of people feel it in their heart or in their brain. You can feel very agitated, unsettled, nervous, anxiety, stress. It can literally, it can really impact your heart. It can mess with your blood pressure, up or down. It can mess with your pulse, up or down. Just saying. All right, so I'm supposed to check out that movie, The Gray State. Okay, here we go. My honor, my pleasure, Mr. Ross. I just hope the reading makes sense and people get something out of these readings. I think it's funny, like I was thinking about this video tonight. I was thinking, wow, I've been so on top of it all week long. And I kept thinking about, like, all these other folks that are making videos on top of videos on top of videos about it. And I kept thinking, I'm not going to do that. It doesn't make any sense. All I'm going to do is watch. Okay, so that's what I've been doing all week, is watching. And now we're here at the tipping point. I just want to reassure everybody that everything is exactly as it should be. Why is that so? How is that so? It's because it can't be any other way. Things are the way they are. It's physics, it's math, it's the laws of the universe. Okay? All the horrors of this existence, all the disgusting, sick, crippling, tragic, evil things, that's all normal. All the beauty, all the wonder, the divinity, that's all part of it as well. It's very beautiful. It's all happening simultaneously. Be loving, be loved. Okay? It's physics. It's pure physics. Be loving, be loved. It's the laws of attraction in action. Okay? All right. I am going to check out here. Leave you all. Thank you, Mr. Ross. Love you too. I love you all, you guys here. All of us have been through a lot together. So let's keep it going. It's just a few of us. It's our little campfire. Okay? Oh, where did I go here? Oh, I'm going over here. That's what I want. Have a beautiful week ahead. Nurture yourself. Allow yourself to feel things very, very deeply. Allow yourself to transform. Allow yourself to feel uncomfortable. Transformation, evolution isn't always the most comfortable thing because it means change. And Uranus is the planet of change. It's the planet of disruption, instability, revolution, upheaval. You have to go with the flow because you don't want to be a victim of that. Okay? Take care, everybody.